Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you again, Mr. Secretary, for coming to West Virginia to participate in that panel, and also the trip to Longview Power Plant. That was, I hope it was beneficial to you. I got a couple comments, so I want to build up a little bit of what my friend from California was talking about, because when I read your written statements and listened to your opening statement, there were two omissions that I heard. One was you didn't talk about water as being part of our national and economic security for this country, which I thought was, but even more so, you didn't mention coal, other than the fact that gas is going to supplant coal perhaps in the near to long-term future. So just getting past that, we're just going to have a disagreement. I think it deserved to have some mention as part of our national economic security of this country on that. But let me go to some questions, however, quickly. We've had testimony from Phil Moeller when he was back with FERC, and he's since confirmed again that we've apparently, talking about grid security and reliability, that we've lost apparently somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 gigawatts of coal-fired power plants around the country, and we've been replacing them with gas and renewables, but more from what I understand with renewables, so it's an intermittent load. It's not base load. We're getting similar, we're still at net loss, but much of that gain that we've made, that replacement, is over in renewables, which we can't count on because of their intermittent use with it. So how can FERC, how can Congress get involved in valuing just dependable baseload power plants, whether that's using gas or coal? What do we do to incentivize that so we've got a satisfactory grid? Because we know, is it fair, we know we can't count on wind and solar to power our base load?
Well, okay. So of course, at the current levels of penetration, in effect, the grid is the storage system for wind and solar. Now, as those penetrations, if they get much higher, of course, then we will have to manage the variability of those sources. Now, part of it can be, of course, technology like storage, energy storage would take care of that. But your suggestion, I think, goes right to something I mentioned earlier, and that is, what is the way of valuing different services in the grid that have not been part of the traditional regulated utility model? And one of those would be this question of value of baseload, which, by the way, of course, right now, that's a major issue as well with nuclear power, with the shutdown of a number of nuclear plants as well. And so in terms of response, currently, I would say that there are certainly very few authorities in the federal government, certainly at DOE. FERC is doing work on what they call price formation, which is a question of how do you value these other qualities, and states are the center of the action.
Thank you. I'd like to follow up more with you. Maybe we can have more of a conversation about that, so that we can have more dependable. But you also talked about the energy storage, and part of the House package, and also in the Senate package, the energy bill, there is the ethane storage and what we refer to as the Appalachian hub, so that we would be able to have storage of ethane not only in the Gulf Coast but someplace in the Northeast. Are you aware of that, and do you see an advantage of having for energy security and national security, having a separate ethane storage facility?
I have to be honest, I haven't really thought that through, so I really would like to think about that and get back to you. But I would say that, of course, as we know, in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, there's a tremendous opportunity given all the ethane production for building out industry, and so it's an extremely valuable commodity. But again, specifically on the issue of ethane storage, I have to admit I have not thought that through.
Just in that remaining time I have, just quickly, with when you met with Longview and they made the statement that as they are the most efficient and cleanest coal-fired power plant in America, ahead of Turk, but yet they've said they can't get a permit to build a second facility to build off that. What would we learn? What did you learn that how we could help another facility like that be constructed?
Well, again, as we discussed in Morgantown, first of all, we continue to be very committed to carbon capture sequestration as a critical technology that we will need, and the IEA says that, and everyone else says that we will need to meet our climate goals most economically. So that's very important. I thought the proposal that they made there about kind of like a 50% co-firing was quite interesting, and in fact, I hope I do get a kind of a spreadsheet on that to look at. Meeting the Clean Power Plan goals with the coal and gas co-firing would be quite interesting. So I'm happy to discuss that. Oh, and a third one, which I mentioned as a big game changer if we can really solve it, but it's probably longer term, is the question of what are the technologies for economic, very, very large-scale utilization of CO2.
Thank you.
That's a big deal if we can solve that problem.
Gentleman's time has expired.